Welcome to the KeeKee's Big Adventures Family Travel Podcast, here to help inspire and plan your family's next big adventure. KeeKee's Big Adventures all started with the award-winning picture book series starring KeeKee, the globe-trotting cat, exploring the world's diverse places, people, and cultures. I'm Shannon, the author and creator of KeeKee's Big Adventures. Moms and families love the books and asked for help planning their own adventures, so the podcast was created to help. Adventure awaits! I'm so excited to have Stephanie from Consistently Curious back on the podcast. She has just returned from an incredible, not only summer vacation, but also celebration vacation. Welcome back to the podcast, Stephanie.
Thank you so much for having me, Shannon. I cannot wait to share all about my exciting travels. It's a little different from my last ones, but I'm excited to be here.
Yay! So tell them a little bit about yourself.
I am a Cincinnati native, and I like to travel a lot with my daughter, who's 6 years old, and my husband. We've been keeping it a little bit more local in the past year. I'm exploring more of our home state of Ohio and close by weekend trips and things like that. But this year, my husband surprised me because I turned 40.
Yay!
With a 40th trip for a European cruise in the Mediterranean. And it was incredible. It was just amazing to be able to celebrate that milestone there with my family. We took our daughter too. So it wasn't just a couple's trip. We went with her, and it was her first trip to Europe.
Oh, my goodness.
Very magical in many ways.
Yay, this is so exciting. All right, where do we start? Tell us about the cruise. Where'd you go? And
oh my goodness. So one of the cool things is we went with Royal Caribbean. This was our first time on Royal Caribbean, and we hopped aboard the Enchantment of the Seas. A lot of people flock to that ship, even though it's an older ship, because it has a unique story. It was cut in half and made longer. So
you're kidding.
And they added 77 feet to this. So they cut it in half in 2005, made it longer. It's still a little bit dated, but they keep it in pristine condition. It's almost like an antique car. It is sparkling clean, but in some ways you walked right back into the 90s when it was built. It's so interesting to see. And the staff's phenomenal. They're just wonderful. My daughter, she cried when we left because the wait staff became like her little family, and they just adored her. It was amazing. So I can't say enough good things about them. So we started in Venice, ended in Barcelona.
So I want to hear all about it. Venice, I was just eyeing over your pictures, getting your spritzes from little windows in Venice. Oh my goodness. So tell us what you did. So you started in Venice. You did a couple days extra there.
Yeah, we stayed at the Hilton in Venice, which I cannot recommend enough. They are phenomenal. First of all, they have an incredible rooftop pool and bar that has one of the best overlooks of the Grand Canal. But the key with them is they offered complimentary transportation to key parts across the canal. So like a boat taxi. So they would take you to like St. Mark's Plaza and different spots along on the other side. So you didn't have to worry about navigating the transportation system.
Oh, that's good. That's really
because
great.
Sometimes it's very overwhelming. Venice transportation is something, and especially coming from the airport, because you can't take a car right to your hotel. You got to take a boat. Yeah, so you have to do a 𝗶𝗴𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗃. We did that to our hotel, which it's more money, but it's 100% worth the extra money.
I mean, you feel like a movie star, right?
You feel like a movie star. And then the best thing is they're taking you straight to your hotel from the airport. You don't even need to like hop a taxi to get to this. You literally take your luggage to like the boat 𝗶𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗃 taxi port, and then like they take you straight to your hotel. Pull right up. They help you with your luggage, and you're there. And to me, that is so valuable. That was a really cool experience. I feel everyone has to do at least once in Venice.
I agree. Totally.
So cool. So yeah, we started there, and then we of course hit the Aperol Spritz windows because Aperol Spritz is one of my favorite drinks.
Oh,
so we did that. The gondola ride. I mean, you have to do it. I recommend doing it in the evening though. The evening is the time with dusk setting. We did it during the day the first time we went to Venice. This time we did it in the evening, and I don't think I can do it any other way.
That's a really good tip.
It's just something really magical with the sun setting. It's cooler, so the sun's not beating down on you if you're going in the summer months, and then it's just you those back alleys just they just have a life of their own in the evening. It's just really cool to see.
That's amazing. So what did your daughter think of Venice?
She loved Venice. That might have been her favorite, but there's another one that popped in there that surprised me for her.
We'll get to that.
And I'll get to that a little later. But one important tip I would say for anyone cruising out of Venice, that your cruise port might not be in Venice proper. You might have to go down to Ravenna, which is about a 3-hour drive. So yeah, that was ours. So we had to plan accordingly, because if you are coming in the day of and think you're going to get to see Venice, you probably won't, especially if you're arranging one of the transfers through the cruise line, since it takes so long to get there. Since they closed the Grand Canal to the big ships now, those are something. So they have one tiny port, but then a lot of ports are along the coast. So yeah, we had to drive like a 3-hour bus ride from Venice to our boat, but it's listed on your itinerary as Venice for your port of call. So that's
good tip.
A good tip to know, just planning ahead. So that's why we opted to stay a couple extra days, because we wanted to see Venice.
Super smart. So how long were you actually in Venice?
We were in Venice for 2 days, and then we headed down to Ravenna, hopped the boat, and then our next stop after that was in Koper in Slovenia.
Wow.
It was a really fun stop. I have never been there before, but they're home to Europe's largest caves. I think it's the Postojna Caves.
Wow.
That to me was one of the best excursions you could do with kids. You literally can take a train ride. The caves are so big, you take a train in the caves, and then they take you into where you stop, and then you have an hour-long walking tour to see these incredible cathedral caverns that are just remarkable.
How cool.
It was really neat. To me, that was one of the best excursions when you're taking kids. You want to see stuff, but you also want your kids to have fun, something they would enjoy. So this was a good one across the board. As always with caves, make sure you bring jackets, because even though it's 95 degrees in the European sun, it's still like 56 inside the cave. So pack accordingly.
Wow, that sounds so neat. So then from Slovenia, and in most of these, was it like a day, you're there for the day kind of thing?
Okay. Yes, you're there for the day. And usually for most of them, you were there all day. Like you got in at 7 and the ship left at 8 o'clock that night. So you had the entire day.
Okay, that's good.
A lot of the ports of call too with a European cruise, like we stopped in Rome and Florence, is you have to remember there's an 1.5-hour drive to get into the city from the port. So you got to put that into perspective. So then you have 3 hours of time driving. So that really only leaves you with like 7 hours or 4 hours or however long in the actual city. So I kind of call like the European cruise like a taste of Europe. So then you can see where you want to go back to. And I'm going to go back there and I'm going to spend some time there. And we've done that. Like we went back to Barcelona and different spots because of a cruise.
That's a great way to put it.
Like a little taste, like a sampling. And you're like, oh.
And especially with the kids, kind of makes it digestible. You only have to unpack once. You're on the ship, and then you get to have someone take you to each location.
Exactly. The unpacking once was huge. We did a road trip through Portugal and Spain and hauling our luggage everywhere. And I just couldn't even fathom that with a child too. I know people do it all the time, but for us, for our first time over, I really wanted to make it as simple. And also, this sounds really silly, but like the cruise ship I knew has food that she would eat. They have chicken nugs. They have all that there. That's easy, accessible. Like I don't have to go out and find. They have kids clubs. They have something for her to do. They had the rock wall and things like that. So even if she was not thrilled with what we did on shore, we could come back and I know there was something fun, like hop in the pools. She would have something that she would always have to do.
Super smart. Super smart. Okay, so then Slovenia to
Naples. So yeah, so this is where Naples is Pompeii with Mount Vesuvius. So we prepped her by getting books from the library. The library is such a great resource to prep your kids before going to Europe. They have so many digestible books for them. And that's what I did with Naples and Rome. She was just really intrigued about Pompeii and the Mount Vesuvius. And of course, I get the question, is it going to erupt while we're there? No, it's not. And then you can go into like, there's people, this is their job. Like, would this be like volcanologist? Would this something you want to do? Or it actually opens up a whole new world to them that they probably she did not know at least. So then while we're there, she's actually remembering pictures from the books we got from the library. Mom, remember that we saw that there, or look at this and look at that. It was an oven while we were there. We went to Europe during that hot 90 week, and they said in Pompeii it felt like 110 while we were there.
Oh my gosh, I can't imagine being out there in the blistering
sun.
Oh
my gosh, it was something. My recommendation, anyone going to Europe in the summer, bring a sun umbrella. That saved our life, that sun umbrella did, because there's no shade in some places. We brought a portable fan and a refillable water bottle. Those saved our life while we were out there. And I actually had a heat stroke in Naples.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
a fun. Yeah, that's fun when you pass out on the street in downtown Naples.
Stephanie,
from
no.
too much heat. Yes. So that brings me to my other tip. Sometimes it's good to bring your passports with you in case you have to go to the hospital, because I wasn't planning on going to the hospital. My passport was on the boat. I managed to convince the medics to take me to the boat to see the boat medic, which I did. And that I think is the only reason they did not take me to the hospital.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, that was a fun adventure for my 40th. I'm like, this is 40 on the streets when my daughter's like eating pizza from Naples.
And Stephanie goes down.
And I go down for the count. My daughter will tell that story till probably I'm long gone. So she will always remember that.
Naples will be one to remember.
Let that be a lesson to everyone going to Europe. Drink water. Drink water.
Hydrate.
Don't overdo it. Just because you're there, don't overdo it. It's so tempting to want to see everything. And that's the trap we fell into, is we did Pompeii in that extreme heat. But then we still wanted to go into downtown Naples to do Via Toledo and the Gallery Umberto. That's what did me in. I should have went back to the boat and rested in the air condition, which is another key for a cruise. Because if you go to Europe in the summer, not everywhere has air condition or ice. And, you know, as Americans, we are very conditioned to that, where on the cruise ship, you are going to have your air condition and you will have your ice. So,
yes, you will. Well, you know, you live and learn, and you can share it with others.
Exactly. And you know what? They were phenomenal. The people were just so amazing. And 2 Italian doctors were happy to walk by and helped me, helped my husband. And like, there was somebody that could translate for us. I mean, people were just phenomenal.
Oh,
and
that's
just
great.
But the fun thing is one of the ladies said, well, you know, because you passed out, my friend got a date with one of the guards. And she's like, they got his number. I'm like, well, I hope at least that love story comes out of this. And by God, if they're listening to this podcast, get a hold of me, because I want to know what happened.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I need a date, the second date update or whatever they call it.
Totally. That's awesome. All right. So you were back on the ship, not by choice,
back on the ship,
ready to go.
Visited the medic, came back, and then we were in Rome the next day.
Did you stay in one place, or did you guys cruise?
We cruised on to Rome.
Okay.
Yeah. So after Naples, we got on the boat. Then we just stayed on the boat till we left. And then it was on to Rome. And sadly, the heat stroke drained me for a couple days. So we kind of had to play it really low key. So we did the hop on, hop off bus tour.
Really good in Rome.
Great. Really good in Rome, especially with kids in tow, because that bus is still air conditioned to some degree. And it keeps you from having to walk from spot to spot. As a true mother of the year, I conditioned my child by watching Hercules on Disney to prepare her like for like the temples and things like that. And she's like, Mom, is there a Hercules temple? And I'm like, there is. And it just happens to be in Rome. She's like, can we go see it? And I'm like, absolutely. Because this was one of the first times she's actually trying to help plan our trips. We're going with this. I'm going.
Yay,
we're doing it.
That's fantastic.
And so, by goodness, one of the bus stops wasn't just a few feet from that. And so we were able to get off, see that. And then we saw the Colosseum, Trevi Fountain, all the big ones. We lived off a gelato. If you're in Italy, you definitely need gelato at least every day.
You absolutely do, at least once.
So Rome was good. It was good. You can never see it in one day. I mean, that's the thing. You just got to pick and choose what is important, what isn't, what do you want to do. And you better hope you throw that penny in and that you wish that you come back to Rome again.
Exactly.
So, and then you come back and you see more.
Fantastic. And then you went to Florence.
We went to Florence, which is one of my favorite spots. I have to say, I just adored Florence.
Oh, it's so fantastic.
We paired it with Pisa. So it was like one of those days you're like lumping a lot in. And I'm glad Pisa was only an hour and we spent most of our day in Florence, because I wanted to go find one of those little wine windows. And you know I found one.
Oh, it's good for you.
I'm finding those wine windows.
I can't wait to go find one when we're there.
You have to find them. They're so fun. My daughter, she like couldn't get over it. So she like went up and knocked, and like the hand comes out and they're waving at her and they shut it and she's looking like, what's coming out next?
It's
like,
so funny because I was just reading that they reopened so many of them because of COVID. And I'm like, that's why we're seeing them all. I didn't even think about that.
Exactly. Our tour guide told us such a fascinating fact about those wine windows. They were used during the plague, and they used them again during COVID. When people couldn't do it, that's how you got your wine and stuff, is you would come to the wine window and they'd hand it to you. Hundreds of years later, it's being reused. And now they're open again for like more touristy fun.
So did you guys just walk around? Florence, you can just walk the streets.
And that's what we did. We got a lot of books on Greek mythology. So when you're walking around where all the museums are, that big square, I'm lost its name.
Oh yeah, Piazza Signorina?
Yes, I think that's it.
Something like
That's
that.
it. They have the replica of the statue of David. My daughter can recognize now. Oh, Mom, that's Poseidon. Or look, that was the head of Medusa. And it was funny that she could recognize that only just off of a few mythology books. It was really cool. Florence was great. We did perfume smelling, which was really fun. She loved that.
Oh.
And so it was really fun. We're used to like spritz, smell, but then they have where you lift the dome up and you smell. And she was like, oh, that is just so cool. So like we literally probably spent half hour in perfume shops smelling for different perfumes. But one of the best things we had in Florence was the food. We went to, I think it's Ostia Pastella. We had to make a reservation for it. There were people lined out the door waiting to get in. And sure enough, they bring out that big wheel of Parmesan. They make it right there in front of you, put the truffle on. And of course, my daughter's like, I don't want that. I'm like, I'm going to eat yours and mine. And I'm like, you can just have the bread. I'm like,
so were they making, was it the big 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃𝗃 Pepe?
Yes. It was incredible.
All right. I'm going to have to make a note of that place to go when we're there.
Oh, yes. You got to go.
Okay.
Make your reservation and go.
Okay.
It is so good. They brought out other things my daughter ended up demolishing. So she was fine. But we only spent 5 hours in Florence. And I just told my husband, we just need to come back for a week. That's what we need to do. And that's when one of the good things and the bad things of cruising is you're like, oh, man, I really want to stay here a little bit longer, but you can't. But then you just plan another trip to come back later.
Exactly.
So after Florence, we moved on to Cannes, France. So the French Riviera, which is gorgeous. Sadly, our cruise ship was only in port for like 4 hours. So you couldn't do hardly anything. So for the most part, we just got out, walked around the city a little, went up and saw like one of the castles, the overlooks, because the overlook gorgeous, grabbed a baguette and some croissants and made us back there on the boat. I wish we would have had more time there.
I think part of Cannes, it's the whole French Riviera, right? If you can go into some of the other towns, that's like a whole trip in itself, right?
It is. That's exactly it. That's what me and my husband were like, oh my goodness, you could just come and spend days on the beach, go into Nice. Once again, another one that we're like, add that to the bucket list. And then it ended in Barcelona. We ended up staying in Barcelona. We stayed at the Renaissance Inn in the heart of Barcelona, which was wonderful. They did a phenomenal job. They have a great rooftop restaurant that overlooks the Sagrada Familia. I didn't expect that because the guy at the front desk was like, oh, you got to check out the rooftop. Like, you got Aperol Spritz up there? I'm coming.
That's great.
The next day we stayed in Barcelona as well. And we did the hop on, hop off bus tour. Once again, those things are just great. And you get the headset that tells you like about everything. So we did the Sagrada Familia, Park Güell, and we did the tour of Casa Mila.
Oh, nice.
And so that was my husband's favorite. And my daughter, I didn't realize how much she loved like walking head tours. This is a new thing. So she loved it. Had I had known, I probably would have done more museums with her. I was a little hesitant with this being her first time. I didn't want her trapped in a museum for 2 hours with a bunch of people because I didn't know how she would do. But I knew the Casa Mila tour was short. And so she loved it. And she loved having the headsets and being able to go through things and hear it herself. I wasn't expecting her to do so well with those. And she did great with them at 6. And then it was back home. And it's too soon. And now I'm like, already got to plan my next trip.
It sounds like such a wonderful celebration vacation.
It was great.
Okay, so favorite things. Sounds like we already heard what your husband's, your daughter.
He loves Barcelona. He loves going out for tapas. That's his other favorite thing. He loves like pinchos and all that. He's the big foodie.
Okay.
Which is why we pair so well. I plan all the activities. He plans the food.
Very
so
nice.
I'm like, that's great. Which brings me to one of my favorite things is we did lunch at 𝗂𝗄's in Venice. And it's 𝗂𝗄's in the St. Regis Hotel. And it overlooks the Grand Canal. Make a reservation. We were there for 3 hours. I wouldn't have it any other way. You're just watching the boats go up and down the canal, having incredible Italian food. You just can't ask for anything better. So that was one of my highlights of the trip by far. Venice was probably my favorite. I just loved that gondola ride. I really enjoyed Pompeii a lot. It's just the history behind it is so cool and how they're still unearthing it and only 2/3 is uncovered. That to me is just fascinating. The work that the archaeologists are doing and just putting it all together. It would have been really neat to just spend the day exploring that whole site. I think that would have been really cool.
That's a great day trip, like you said, from Naples, or even when you're in the Amalfi Coast, do a day trip over. To your point, just having that as one focus to be able to explore because there is so much. And having a tour guide to be able to show you everything is really helpful too.
Very helpful. They're worth their weight. If you don't know what you're looking at, they can bring a whole site to life and truly make your experience. The guide in Florence was the one telling us all the history of the wine window. In my mind, I'm like, wine window, what a clever idea. What a cute idea. But no, there's a whole history to them that I would have never known if this tour guide wouldn't have told us about it. Along with the history of perfume in Florence, just really neat. I would have never walked into a perfume store in Florence on my own. The guy took us in there and he's telling us this whole history about perfumes, and it just brought everything to life.
Did Royal help you with the tour guides?
Some we found on our own.
Oh, good. How'd you find them?
Yeah, I usually get on Viator. They do great. AAA does great. We do a whole bunch of different ones. And of course, we go with the cruise line too, because especially ones that they trust. So I know we're going to be back on the boat on time, because that's always a stress in the back of your mind. You don't want to be those people like running on the platform like, don't because there was people like that. I mean, literally, we saw the cab roll up in the final hour. They called these people and like, they're like, we're leaving. And I saw them starting to pull the lines in, and this cab's running in, and they waited for them, which I thought was very generous, because they waited almost 45 minutes.
And then it sounds like your daughter just did great. Like at 6, she just loved it.
She was a champ, and especially with the heat. We all were complaining about the heat, but my goodness, she did it. And we didn't bring a stroller. She walked it. And I was proud of her. I was going to say, I was just so impressed, because I was sitting there going back and forth, like, should I bring a stroller? Should I not bring a stroller? And I'm like, I just don't think the streets are good for a stroller, which they're not. If you have to do it, you have to do it. My goodness. So she got rewarded with gelato a lot, or like the beautiful pastries. And we take frequent breaks too.
Smart. And then was her favorite Pompeii?
She loved Naples. She loved Pompeii. She loved getting the pizza that was folded over. She thought that was fascinating. That was just something that they did there. She loved Hercules, but it's funny, as the weeks pass, it changes, which she'll talk about. Things you don't think they picked up on, they pick up on. All of a sudden, she's like, remember we threw that coin in the Trevi Fountain, so now I have to go back to Rome, Mom. I'm like, you listened? She did. She's like, I love the Trevi Fountain. That's one of my favorites, Mom. Then she'll talk about the Hercules Temple, because that was something she picked out to do. But then all of a sudden, we're in this bookstore in Italy. And she's like, Mom, I want this book on gladiators. Because remember, we went into that Colosseum in Pompeii. And we saw the Colosseum in Rome. And I want to learn more about that. And I'm like, okay. And we've been home, and she's been learning all about the gladiators. You just never know what the things you think they're going to take away is probably not what you think it's going to be. And it's going to be something totally different. She talks about the architecture in Barcelona, the Sagrada Familia. She's like, Mom, I've never seen a church like that in my life. I'm like, I don't think there is one anywhere else like that, quite honestly, honey. And she's like, wow, it looks like it had fruit on it. I'm going to call it the fruit church. And I'm like, okay. I mean, things, I'm like, you notice the things that look like fruit because they are fruits, because they're supposed to be the fruits of the spirit.
Exactly.
And so I'm like, wow, you noticed that and remembered it.
But see, this is exactly why, right? You travel with them.
Exactly.
And the doors that you've opened in her mind at 6 and in first grade is just fantastic.
It's incredible. The minute you're like, oh, they're never going to remember anything and stuff like that, you never know what they're going to remember. My daughter will still pull memories out from when she was 3, things that I never even know. We're in a day of age with pictures, and that helps with your memories. They're looking back at all these things and like, oh yeah, I do remember that. I do remember this.
And I love the way that you helped her prep, which really engaged her in the trip. And now she can just keep exploring all of these things, which is so cool.
Absolutely. One of the other things we did to help with the walking is we started making it a routine to make daily walks. Like whether we're going to walk to the library, we're going to walk around the neighborhood, we're going to do daily walks in the heat, in whatever temperature, we're starting our daily walks. And I think that wasn't only just good for her, it was good for us to condition us, because sometimes we get into a sedentary lifestyle, especially like me as a blogger. I'm often in front of the computer screen just to get moving, because there is a lot of walking in Europe. So you need to be ready for that. So walk to the library to get our Greek mythology books.
That's so great. Any other tips we didn't cover?
Wear gym shoes. That would be my other thing. Goodness, you'd want a good pair of walking shoes, even in the heat. People are like, oh, sandals and stuff. I wore sandals a handful of times, but you'll end up with blisters. It's just the gym shoes were the way to go, even for kids, especially because in Pompeii, it's dirt roads and different places are still gravel and dusty. Having that extra traction, and honestly, you just want the support.
Super smart. So I have to ask, what is the next trip you are planning? I'm sure you've got lots of local adventures because you're so good at that.
Tons of local adventures, of course. But then we are surprising Sophie, our daughter, with a Disney cruise in November. And we're going to a bunch of new islands in the Southern Caribbean that we have never been to. So we're doing like St. Kitts, we're doing Antigua, Aruba. So we're really excited for those adventures.
So have you guys done a Disney cruise before?
We have. We did a Halloween one. So their Adventure on the High Sea, which was so much fun. Oh my goodness. I was hoping to be able to do the Halloween one, but we couldn't. And then we did another one last year out of San Juan. And this one also leaves out of San Juan. We're excited.
That's fantastic.
I'm trying to keep it secret without her knowing. So that's been my biggest thing is I'm always worried I'm going to let it slip because now she's at that age where like they listen to everything. They have like ears and they're like, what'd you just say?
When are you going to tell her?
In San Juan on our way to the cruise ship. We're going to tell her we're going to San Juan for a beach vacation because we're staying at one of the hotels on the beach. And then we're going to pack it up and then we're going to tell her when she gets to the boat. So,
well, Stephanie, thank you so much for sharing what just sounds like was just an incredible vacation. Thank you for sharing all the details.
Oh, you're welcome. I hope you have fun in Italy when you go.
Oh, I can't wait. It's been way too long. And I just love all of your travels and adventures. You were just so helpful with everything that you share. Where can people follow and find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Consistently Curious. Same on Facebook, TikTok. And then you can also find me on my website at consistentlycurious.com. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us on the KeeKee's Big Adventures Family Travel Podcast. Visit the episode webpage for all the details from today and lots more travel planning resources. We look forward to traveling with you on the next episode. Adventure awaits!